Tom Bleak is one of my old black belts. If you had known him when I knew him in his young years, you'd never believe that he could put such a function together. I gotta tell you, he was the worst driver on the freeway I've ever rode. Dangerous, in and out of traffic. It's amazing how we survived. Oh my God, that was Tom Bleak. Thank you to Barbara and Mike Pick and all of you for making this night very special. Now to my mother and my family said, you know, what a wonderful occasion this is to come when there are times of happiness as opposed to death. Normally we're always meeting each other at someone's funeral and someone's wedding. I'm not saying that's also a funeral, but you know, as I stand here, I think of the time when the teacher got before the class and said, is there anyone in this classroom who's stupid? Please stand. No one did. And he repeated himself. If there's anyone in this room who's stupid, please stand. And little Johnny stood up. He says, little Johnny, are you stupid? He said, no, teacher, I'm not. But I just hated seeing you stand up there alone. I hope I'm not the school teacher standing up there alone. When I went to high school, I mean, one of the greatest times of my life was in high school. And God bless my mother. I used to be quite a naughty guy. You notice that knock-kneed guy that was first on the screen? And my mother reminded me of the time when I'd go in front of the store to give this Chinese gentleman bottles that had a deposit on it. No sooner he'd take the bottles in the back and come back to the front of the store, I'd be in the back of the store getting the bottles and coming back forward. She reminded me of those times. Those are lovable times. And you know, my regret tonight is that my father is not here. In all my years of training, and my dad never ever saw me do the martial arts. And yet, he was one of the greatest athletes that came out of Hawaii and one of the toughest. You see, in his family, there were 15 brothers and 3 sisters. You pick on one part, you better watch out for the rest. And as my brother Joe and I and David would go to different weddings and stuff, I said, God, who's that beautiful girl over there? Shut up, that's your first cousin. Who's that over there? Shut up, but you had the first cousin from Uncle so-and-so. And then I had a number of first cousins who later became Miss Hawaii. And tonight's wonderful girl that danced for us, who was Miss Hawaii. It's quite ironic because her father and I trained together under Professor Chow. And I was quite stunned to find out that she was here to perform in my behalf. Her father, who was a fighting partner with me, who I cared for. As I think back, I'm happy to have been a part of Bruce's life and Linda. As Linda pointed out, when I saw Bruce perform, yeah, he was cocky, but he was nice to me. But regardless of his cockiness, he could back it up. I never saw a guy who was able to mimic anyone on the spur of the moment, go through a particular move that someone might have perfected for 16 years, do it just as well the first time around, never having done it before, and then looking better the second time around. That was Bruce Lee. When I saw that, I said, hey, I'm going to make every effort to get this guy on the screen, which I did and I'm happy I was a part of, because I felt that his talents would have the effect that it did on the world, whereby martial arts would give us, and many of us, a livelihood that proved profitable. Not only in terms of financial gain, but the spirit as well. I'm really proud to have had Chuck Norris here tonight. I know he has a busy schedule, but I feel honored, Chuck, that you thought enough of me to come. And you too have been an influence in terms of who you are. But I also love Chuck because he still remains the same guy that he was years ago. Willing to take photographs, willing to sign, willing to forego eating in order to help others, or show that he is the guy that he is. And aside from Bruce and Chuck, another important man in my life was the late Elvis Presley. And the reason I loved him was that when he saw all the fans come about, he said, you know, my mother's always told me, never forget my fans. And I don't know why my fans are all up in awe about me, because I sit and wipe it like anybody else. I said, it's the way you do it, Elvis. That's what makes it different. He was a down-to-earth guy. And if we live to be as old as Methuselah, you and I can afford to make enemies for 500 years because we had another 400 years to make up. But we're lucky if we get past 70. I'm going to conclude with one more story. At the time when I was in high school, of the definition that was given to me about organization. This one is a story about a guy on a plantation in the South. And with him he'd have his valet, who was excellent with a whip. And as they went on to his property, he saw a fly on a horse. He said, Sam, get your whip out and get that fly off the horse. Sam got his whip, snapped that whip, and got the fly off the horse without any injury to the horse. As he went further on his property, he said, Sam, I don't like that dry leaf on the tree. Sam got his whip, and off came the dry leaf off the tree. And then they came to a big old beehive on top of the branch. He said, Sam, and before Sam's boss could complete what he was about to ask, Sam said, Master, a fly on a horse is a fly on a horse. A dry leaf on a tree is a dry leaf on a tree. But Master, there is an organization. I feel that I belong to such an organization. You are an organization. We have to learn to work together. But I would be unappreciative tonight if I didn't take the time to thank one very important man who I consider a brother, although we have not seen each other for a period of time. The guy who helped me get my start in this town, in meeting the many celebrities, and gave me the opportunity, having met them, to introduce Bruce to them. And that's Terry Robinson, sitting right next. If you'll notice in all of my books, Terry, I never fail to mention Terry Robbins. I have many other friends here, John Kozakar, my partner, Mickey Blowitz. There's so many names to remember. Jimmy Brown, all my old timers, Sullivan and Conejo and Laredo and Gow. There's so many of you tonight. Paul Pasek, who was another little Ed Parker years ago. I appreciate your coming. Appreciate your concern, and I love you all. Thank you.